friend refounder.
Good morning, American patriots! I gotta get my speech out here. Can you hear me now? All right. My name is Steve McCoy, and this is my hometown, so welcome to Indianola, Iowa. I want to thank you all for coming. I know you people from Texas are probably looking for a bucket to take some of this back home with you. We've had plenty up here. I want to thank the Tea Party of America for letting me share my heart this morning. And I also want to thank Barack Hussein Obama. Yes, that's right, Barack Hussein Obama, for waking me up. You see, I'm guilty of being a former member of the Rip Van Winkle fan club. Are there any other members out there? Great. Good to see you're not still sleeping. You know, a lot of you are just like me. You've been busy, working, raising a family, paying taxes, and just being a responsible citizen. And then, the wake-up call. Remember that? January 20th, 2009. Well, I'm awake now and mad as hell. How about the rest of you? For some other individuals we need to give thanks to today and to honor. And that would be our founding fathers. Let's give it up to them. In 1776, 56 men were chosen by their fellow citizens. People just like you and me. These men gathered together to plot a course that would throw off the yoke of tyranny that beset them. An act that King George would consider as treason. Treason! Our founding fathers were quite aware of the risks and the hazards of what they were doing. They knew that if King George had his way, they'd be hauled away on a wooden frame to their execution. And there they would be hung for a brief time, till almost dead. Then they would be taken down and laid on the table and slit open at the abdomen, and their insides would be taken out and placed on the table beside them. And after they were beheaded, their body would be quartered, cut into 4 parts. Now, typically the 5 parts, the head and the body, would be stuck on poles and displayed around the village or town. And of course, if you were famous, you would be displayed in the countryside, because this was supposed to be a deterrent to would-be traitors who could not witness the execution. And when you think about that, this is what our founding fathers faced. And yet in spite of this, they held these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, which amongst these are life, liberty, and the right of property. Now we know it as pursuit of happiness, but originally it was right of property. Samuel Adams, who is known as the father of the American Revolution, said this: "The liberties of our country, the freedom of our civil constitution are worth defending at all hazards. And it is our duty to defend them against all attacks. We inherited them from a worthy ancestor. They purchased them for us with toil and danger. And the expense was treasure and life. And they transmitted them to us with care and diligence. It will be an everlasting mark of disgrace upon this generation if we should allow them to be usurped from us without even a struggle, or to be cheated out of them by deceptive maneuvers of dishonest and scheming men. Through much hardship, toil, and sacrifice, our founding fathers gave us a shining light upon a hill. It was not just an ordinary light. It was a beacon that would illuminate our pathway in days yet to be encountered. It was a beacon that would be a light unto the world. It would be a beacon that would ignite the spirit of freedom that dwells in the bosom of every man, woman, and child. And it is a beacon that cannot be snuffed out. For in the light, goodness dwells. Light invades the darkness and exposes the evil that hides there. Let me ask you a question now. Is socialism the light? No! Is communism the light? No! Is fascism the light? No! Is Marxism the light? No! What about progressivism? That's right. Progressivism is nothing more than socialism with a tie on. All these isms are evil because their intention is to crush your spirit and enslave your soul. They create paradigms that stifle your imaginations, your hopes and your dreams and your purposes. They replace, I have to look here just a minute. They replace service with servitude. They replace ingenuity and hard work with an entitlement mentality. They create a lazy mind and a lazy body. And they replace faith with fear. They reduce man to a robot incapable of cognitive thought. Mind, will, and emotions become captives. But freedom, freedom, on the other hand, releases the greatness that lies in each one of us. Only in freedom will your dreams be made manifest. Only in freedom will your inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the right of property become reality. For the last 100 years, this great nation has drifted away from the shores of freedom. We have drifted because we've forgotten the Creator's natural laws of sowing and reaping. Now, we here in Iowa know about sowing and reaping. We know that we cannot plant corn and harvest beans, nor can we plant beans and harvest corn. You reap what you sow. But yet, even here in Iowa, we have been bewitched into thinking that we can sow seeds of Marxism, collectivism, nanny state, progressivism, all the other isms, and get a different crop. That's foolishness. Isn't it about time that we take a look at what we've been planting? Is it not time to burn the fields and till the soil and replant? We need to replant with good seed. Seeds of personal responsibility. Seeds of hard work, common sense, traditional moral values, honesty, gratitude, courage, and last but not least, liberty. As a nation, we have drifted, but not so far that we can't still see Lady Liberty standing in a harbor. Can you see her there? Can you see her? There she is, beckoning us to return and restore the republic. Let the idle hands be idle no more. Let the creative minds be awakened. Let the entrepreneur spirit be released. Let the spigot of prosperity be turned on again. Let the timid become courageous. And let the silent majority be silent no more. You are not alone. Look around. Look. This is not the time to just hold the ground. No, this is the time to storm the hill and take our republic back. Remember, the same Creator that gave us the rights of life, liberty, and the right of property also said, I have set you free for freedom's sake. Never, never let anyone put you into bondage again. I'm going to close with an analogy and a couple quotes. You know, I was interviewed earlier about the Tea Party movement. Seems like there's a lot of questions about who we are. The political pundits, the Beltway crowd, and especially the news media, in all their accumulative wisdom, have not yet been able to understand the Tea Party movement. We've been accused of being astroturf, racist, terrorists, fanatics, and a few other choice words. They have said that we have no influence and we would soon disappear. Well, I've got 6 kids and 16 grandkids, and I'm not going away. How about you? Here's a little analogy for the news people. April 23rd, 1985. The Coca-Cola Company decided they would change their formula and introduced a new product to the public and call it New Coke. By July of the same year, there was such an outcry by the public that they had to return to the old formula, which they call Coca-Cola Classic. The Tea Party movement See, just as Coca-Cola changed their formula, so has the Republican and Democrat parties. Both of them have lost touch with their founding principles and we the people. The Tea Party movement is nothing more nor less than an outcry by we the people. We are fed up with the change in formula and are expressing a desire to return to the classic. We're tired of the cost and the bitter taste left in our mouth that both parties have succumbed to. I'm going to leave you a quote now of Cicero. How many know who Cicero is? Great. Cicero was born in 106 BC and died in 43 BC. He was a Roman philosopher, statesman, lawyer, political theorist, and orator. It was his philosophy of a republic that had such a profound effect upon our founding fathers. Although he was not a Christian, he acknowledged that there was a supreme creator of the universe. He prescribed to natural law, which he defined as nothing more or less than recognizing and identifying the right rules of conduct with the laws of the supreme creator. Really, to conclude anything else would be admission of lack of reason and common sense. It would indicate one's own foolishness, for even the Creator himself said in the book that he authored that a fool in his own heart says there is no God. The Creator is the only one that can grant rights. Doesn't common sense surely verify that? That only someone superior can grant rights to someone inferior? Do employees grant rights to employers? Of course not. Then why in the world do we entertain the idea that our employees, the elected representatives, grant rights? They don't grant rights. They work for us. We need to remind them of that. Now let me read Cicero's words here. Now remember, these words are over 2,000 years ago. And they are as relevant today now as when they were written. Cicero said, "A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive the treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less dangerous, for he is known and he carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely. His sly whispers, rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor. He speaks in accents familiar to his victims. He appeals to the depravity that lies in deep hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of the city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to fear. The traitor is the infection." Now, I've only got one more quote to leave you with, and if you remember anything, remember this next quote. It's from Edward Everett Hale, and he said this: "You may say, but I am only one. What can I do?" You may only be one, and you may not be able to do everything. But because you are one, never let anyone stop you from doing the one thing that you can do. Thank you very much. God bless.
Mackenzie Highlanders. Those guys are great. We're fortunate to have them here today. They've performed at other Tea Parties that we've had in the past. Well, my name is Tea Party Charlie, and made the news this week. It's quite interesting. But we're going to have a good program, and it's an excellent. I'd like to, as Ken did, thank all the volunteers and for all of you for showing up here today. I'm going to introduce Pastor Warren Rogers. I've known Pastor Rogers for over a year now. He often gives the invocation for our Tea Party events. He's a singer. He began singing at the age of 3, sang in the United Kingdom with the converted rock star Cliff Richards, sang at the Governor's Branstad's prayer breakfast, sang with an event of Reggie White. Reggie White's one of my heroes. And he's presently a pastor here at a church here in Des Moines. I'd like to welcome Pastor Warren Rogers.
Good morning, everybody. Let's pray together, shall we? Father God, creator of heaven and earth, we ask your blessing upon this great nation, the United States of America, and this great state of Iowa, and the people that are here today. We ask your blessing upon Sarah Palin, her family, and the things that concern her. We continue to ask your guidance upon the affairs that are precious to our nation's leaders and over this event. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We ask these things in Jesus' name, amen. I'm going to sing a song for you this morning entitled Amen. 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 I'm singing amen. 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 Sing it over. Listen to my story. It's a story about my Jesus. Amen. Amen. See the little baby. You know he was wrapped up in a manger. Born on Christmas morning. Amen. Amen. See him at the seashore. Well, he's talking to those fishermen, and he's making them disciples. Amen, amen. When they're riding to Jerusalem, and they're all waving palm branches in pomp and splendor. In the garden, he's praying to his Father. He's in deepest sorrow, and they led him before Pilate. Then they crucified him, but he rose on Easter.
Russ Zafel will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I met Russ in March of 2010. We sat down, had some coffee together, got to know him. And he said to me, he said, Charlie, I've always had a dream to sing the national anthem in front of a crowd. He did, and it did an excellent job. Russ is a disabled veteran. He saw some tough stuff over in Iraq. He was a sniper with the Marines. And currently, he's involved with Homeland Security, and he's also studying counterterrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Russ Zafel, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To sing our national anthem will be Stacy Ruth Stelting. Stacy and her sister Carrie have been on Fox News several times. They will be on Fox News again Monday morning. They live in Cherokee, Iowa, and these two young ladies from Cherokee, Iowa have been kind of made a little bit of a national prominence here. They've sang for Rick Santorum, as I said, Mike Huckabee. As lifelong Iowans, she and her sister, Carrie, Carrie Beth recently recorded a patriotic CD, In God We Still Trust, with the Gaither Studios. Learn more about it at their website, www.unitetheusa.org. Stacy and Carrie love their country, but most of all, they love their Lord, Jesus Christ. Please welcome Stacy Ruth as she sings the national anthem.
It may be raining, but it doesn't turn off our fire, right? It doesn't put out our fire. So it's exciting, and what a blessing to be here. And as I did when I sang for President George W. Bush, and I just always dedicate it to our troops, our veterans, and to my Lord, Jesus Christ. And I say that not as a swear word. I say it from my heart. Jesus is my Lord. Okay, now, time for the national anthem, and you all are just such great patriots out there. You know, we'll rise if you haven't, and I will sing the national anthem. I'm waiting for the music. Because I do know the words. Oh, by the way, as he was mentioning earlier, we're going to be sharing about our prayer event on Fox News that counters Bloomberg's ban on prayer. We're going to have 911 prayer. And yes, it's an online event. Check it out on Facebook, 911 prayer. And so we'll pray anytime, anywhere on 9/11. And I'd love to have you join us there. Okay. It'll work out. Is it going to start? Yeah. Say, can you see at the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last Well, praise God. Keep up that fire, even in this rain.
Okay, boys and girls, they haven't got us yet. Al Gore's liberal reign still hadn't run us away. Our next fella is one of my heroes. You know him from WHO, President Reagan's old radio station. He hosts the afternoon drive show from 4 to 7, and he is truly my hero. He's a true patriot, and he is a true American citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Simon Conway.
Hello, my fellow patriots! Who's here for the Constitution? Okay, who's here for Sarah Palin? You know, we have to fight the language that's coming from the left. We're terrorists, right? We're holding the country to ransom. We Tea Party people are just itching to find some black people to hang from a tree. I know, that's the language we're facing from the liberals, from the Congressional Black Caucus, from these people who invoke Martin Luther King about as often as I take my dog Reagan for a walk. They invoke him, but apparently they didn't pay any attention to him whatsoever and to what he dreamed. The mere existence of a Congressional Black Caucus would have been hugely offensive to Martin Luther King, who longed for a day when his children and his grandchildren would be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. But you know what? We have to rise above the garbage that's being spewed by these hate-filled people. We got to deal with some real issues facing the country, facing these greatest of all nations. You know, yesterday morning, the new unemployment figures came out. The United States, exactly right, added 0 jobs in the month of August. 0. We've not seen that since 1945, when we were involved in a little spat that I like to call World War II. And you know, you would think that considering he's told us over and over again that jobs is his #1 priority, that the president might have had something to say about this shocking number. Didn't happen. He left the White House aboard Marine One first thing yesterday morning and went for a nice long weekend at Camp David. Not one word to the millions of Americans who are out of work. And so next week, he's going to address a joint session of Congress to unveil his master plan. I can hardly stand the anticipation, can you? The big miracle, our savior to the rescue. Of course, this does remind me a little bit of that movie Groundhog Day, you see, because on September the 4th, 2010, that is 1 year ago tomorrow, this is what the president said to the nation. He said, "We are doing everything we can to accelerate job creation. The steps we have taken to date have stopped the bleeding. Investments in roads and bridges and high-speed rail will lead to hundreds of thousands of jobs in the private sector. Tax cuts and loans for small business owners who create most of the jobs in America." Did I miss something? All these hundreds of thousands of jobs in the private sector, all these loans to small businesses creating millions of jobs. Did I sleep through that? Did you? You see, if he was really serious about creating jobs, then first thing he has to do is to remove the massive uncertainty that business is experiencing because of his failed and unconstitutional healthcare law. If he was serious about helping the economy, then he would cut short his long weekend and get back to the White House and tell the nation that when the country gets back to work on Tuesday, the first thing he is going to do is repeal Obamacare. But you know what? If he doesn't do it, we're going to do it for him. We've also got to talk a little about illegal immigration. That's something that's a little bit close to my heart, as you might understand. You know, all presidents have used executive orders, but to enact major legislation that they couldn't get through Congress by using executive orders is not something that we've seen very often. The president can't get cap and trade passed. Solution? Gives the EPA powers that most communist secret police would be proud of. Even with a Democrat-controlled House and Senate, the president couldn't get the so-called DREAM Act passed. What does he do? He issues an executive order to do a run around Congress, but I got to tell you, it's far worse than that. He not only did a run around Congress, he did a run around the judiciary as well. Some 300,000 cases of deportation before our courts are going to get individual review. Think about that. 300,000 cases. Some of them will have already received final orders of deportation from a judge, but the president just overruled the judge. Where's the outcry, the shock, the sense of outrage coming from the United States Congress? Where is it? From the senior judges, from the mainstream media, where is it? I got to tell you, as a legal immigrant and very proud citizen of the United States of America, I am horrified. In case you don't know, this is what he did. If you are illegal and in this country and attending school, you're allowed to stay. If you are illegal in this country and have a family member serving in our military, you're allowed to stay. If you're illegal in this country but have primary responsibility for the care of other family members, then you're allowed to stay. And if you're one of the 300,000 that might have already received a final order of deportation, then your case is going to be individually reviewed by someone in Washington, D.C. And of course, they're so efficient up there, it's going to take, what, a couple of weeks, you think? Something like that. And by the way, while you're waiting for this to happen, if you fall into any of the other groups as well, then you're going to be given a work authorization document, which is going to enable you to compete for jobs with real Americans right now. This is nuts. In case there is any confusion left in this audience, that is amnesty. I hope you're going to join me. I hope you're going to continue to fight for our republic to make sure you are informed and stay informed. You see, right now, we've still got 14 months to go until the next election. 14 months until we get to tell those dirtbags who have worked so hard to destroy our nation that it is time to go home and to stay home. This is a never-ending road that we're on. This will never stop. Your fight will never stop. And I've got to tell you, if it does, freedom itself will probably stop. It's a never-ending road, and we don't like to hear it because we're lazy. I'm lazy. We have other things that we'd rather do. This is grand. This is fantastic. It's magnificent. And really, God bless you for coming out today. Really, give yourself a round. Especially to the people who slept under the stars out here last night. But I got to tell you, this is for nothing. For nothing if you simply go home and say what a great day this was. We have to stand up. We have to stand up for our children. I have to stand up for my daughters, Lauren and Rachel, and for their children. That is like a long way in the future, their children. Because this is really about saving the republic. I've lived through where we're headed. I tell you that on the radio all the time. And I'm telling you right now, our very republic is at risk. Are you ready to tell those dirtbags in the White House that we've had enough? We've had enough of czars. We've had enough of the contempt they treat us with. We've had enough of the president trying to legislate through executive order. You know, they say to people like us, we're crazy. We're the far right. We're the nut jobs. They're wrong. They couldn't be more wrong. This is the center of America. When you stand up for the Constitution, this is the real America, the center of America, and we're standing up right now. I got to tell you that really, the reality is the only people who think we're on the far right when we fight for the Constitution and when we believe in the Constitution are King George and the new royalty at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. My promise to you is that I will continue to fight each and every day with every single breath I have. I'm going to continue to fight for the Constitution. I will use everything within my power to do that. My radio show right here in Iowa, wherever I'm on the radio in the country, I will do whatever I can to fight for the Constitution. And by the way, also for the preservation of the Second Amendment. God bless you for coming out here today, really. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. I got to introduce someone now. Sam Clovis is a radio host from Sioux City, Iowa. He's also a professor and chair of the Department of Business Administration and Economics at Morningside College. But more important than all of that, he was a colonel in the Air Force where he served for 25 years. He flew F-106s, F-4s, and F-16s. He retired as Inspector General of NORAD and the United States Space Command. We still have one of those, Sam, by the way? Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Clovis.
I was told to be quick or be gone. I want all of you to dispel some rumors that when a fighter pilot gets a doctorate, it gives liberals a lot of trouble and makes their heads explode. And back when I flew fighters, when I was quite literally half the man I am today, I enjoyed that immensely. It was more fun than the law ought to allow. I'm here today to talk to you about the principles that bring you out here on such a day and all of the things that matter to us as Americans. Our liberty and our freedom are under assault, and we have to do something about that. One of the things I want to talk to you about is a little bit about cut, cap, and balance. I'm going to take those in reverse order. We're going to talk about balancing the budget. I think the number one priority for the Congress of the United States is to pass a balanced budget amendment and send it to the states for ratification. There are 87,000 jurisdictions, governmental jurisdictions in the United States today. All but one has an obligation to balance its budget. All but one. And that one is the national government of the United States. They cannot impose discipline upon themselves, so we, the people, must do that. Over the last 50 years, we have been spending, our rate is about 20.5% of GDP. Our revenues have only been about 18%. It doesn't take a Harvard PhD to figure out that that's a negative cash flow. What we're after here is a way to balance the budget and then start buying down this debt. If we continue on the current trajectory, the current buzzword in DC, we will be seeing $25 trillion in debt over the next decade. We will be saddled with such a debt that our children and our children's children will never have a way of life like we have today. In order to balance the budget, if the growth of the economy stays what it is, below 1%, we will never reach a balance point. If the growth rate goes to 3%, it will take 13 years to reach a balance point. If we get growth at 5%, it will still take 8 years to reach a balance point. We have got to have the leadership in Washington that will do that. And the balanced budget agreement or balanced budget amendment is the way that we will finally get that done and impose discipline on the Congress, because it is the Congress's constitutional responsibility, not the president, to set the budget for the United States. I just wish the Senate would get up off their butts after 900 days of no budget action and get on with the business of the country. Let's talk a little bit about cap spending. If we were to cap spending today, we have to go through this process. You understand that the $3.7 trillion budget offered by this president is one that institutionalizes the stimulus. This means an additional $1 trillion has been added to the baseline. I'm an economist, so I have a hard time not talking about these numbers. Our House of Representatives passed a budget that was extremely responsible, but it didn't go far enough. We need to be cutting about $8 trillion from our budget over the next 10 years to reach that balance point. $8 trillion. That's a big number. What we have to do then is to find a way to do this. So we have to stop spending money. Now to the best part. Let's talk about cutting spending. Let's talk about cutting spending. My proposal is this, that we have 2.8 million civilian employees in the employee of the federal government. If we were to cut 100,000 employees over the next 10 years, that would save us $10 billion a year. Now, think about it. We finally have a civilian workforce that was only a little bit bigger than all of those young men and women in uniform, the people who defend us out there. Next is we have to take on the $550 billion a year given out in grants. All grants are institutionalized earmarks. If we were to cut 10% of that grant money every year for the next 10 years, we'd save $55 billion a year. And finally, there are 2,107 subsidies that cost the American taxpayers approximately $850 billion a year. Let's cut that 10% a year, and suddenly we have real cuts of $150 billion a year, and I haven't mentioned Medicare, Social Security, or Medicaid. How about them apples? We have the opportunity in just 3 areas to go after the spending, to cut 4% a year from our budget, to get to that balance point within the first term of the next Republican president of the United States. Now, this is going to mean a lot of rice bowls are going to get kicked over and a lot of oxen are going to get gored. This means you may not get the bike path around your neighborhood. You may not get the bandstand that you want out there. You may not have to bring different kinds of curricula into your schools. We won't go into all of that because you'll have control. So how do we do this from the bottom up? Look at the thousands of people we have here today in this driving rain to come out here to defend America's liberty. This speaks volumes about what we say as a nation, and this talks volumes, and this message will be sent all over the world. And by the way, for those of you watching on C-SPAN, I do a lot of TV interviews, and it really does add about 10 pounds. One of the things I wanted to finish up here is to just talk about what it is you need to do. I'm a great fan of movies, and one of the great movies I watch is The Untouchables. Sean Connery and Kevin Costner are kneeling in the cathedral, and Costner's frustrated over what's happening with Capone. And Sean Connery looks at him and says, "What are you willing to do?" I'm asking you, what are you willing to do? You have to do the next thing. You have to do whatever it is, you have to do one more thing. If you're used to knocking on doors, you have to lick envelopes. You have to make calls. You have to do missionary work for this cause. You have to bring someone new into the fold every day. And more importantly, unfortunately, you have to write checks. You have to support the candidates that are going to support the principles that you're showing being supported here today. They told me to go quickly. This is about as fast as I can talk. So I'm going to sign off the way I sign off my show every day. I speak for myself. I hope I speak for you from time to time. God bless you. God bless this country. God bless those young men and women in uniform. Let's get them home safe.
Hey, umbrella people, I'm told it stopped raining. It's not raining up here. Okay, our next speaker, he is the host of his own radio show on the All Patriots Media Network. He is also the host of The Conversation with Tony Katz on pjtv.com. This is the most interesting part about Tony Katz, though. He's a Tea Party organizer in Los Angeles, California. How does that work? Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Katz.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a hand. I didn't do anything. I got lucky enough to be under here. Will this thing hold? Can I move this thing? Do I have to be behind the podium? I got people out in the rain. I got to be behind the podium? Forget that. Much better. Hello, how are you? Welcome, Iowa. How did you get a Jewish kid born in Brooklyn to show up in this? You know, the last time I had the chance to speak on stage where Governor Palin was speaking, it was Madison, Wisconsin on tax day. It snowed that day. It's raining today. You don't think Sarah Palin can win the presidency? She can change the weather. It is a pleasure to be here from Los Angeles. Greetings from all of those associated with the Tea Party in Los Angeles. Yes, there is a Tea Party in Los Angeles. Have no fear, Iowa. You are not alone. But I come before you today, certainly I'm curious to hear what the governor's going to say, as are all of you, as is the entire nation. They sit through the rain to see what Sarah Palin has to say. They don't go to see what Barack Obama has to say ever. You can't get NASCAR drivers to show up to the White House. Because within Sarah Palin, within the Tea Party, there's a value that immediately connects. It is the value of something we call the four basics: the Constitution, capitalism, fiscal responsibility, and smaller government. These values work everywhere they are applied. Every single time they are mentioned, they get applause. Every single time they are put into practice, we have a more vibrant nation. We have a successful nation. We have a free nation. And we have the greatest nation in the history of the world. And as a guy who does a radio show, as a guy who does a few shows over at PJTV, The Conversation, Katz and Cruiser with Stephen Cruiser, if you know the name, who is lucky enough to be able to voice the Tea Party position on major cable outlets, isn't it astounding, isn't it amazing for all the things that we are told about the Tea Party? We've heard the litany of them already. That the Tea Party manages to thrive and survive. Thousands of people will sit in the rain. We change the course of history because we decide elections in America. We own the cultural and political debate in the United States of America. And yet they still call us names, and they still, in the mainstream media, in the press, in the progressive press, still attack us. Why is that? Why is it with all of their cloud cover? Why is it with all of their ability to reach out, they can't defeat us? The reason is because what we value here in Iowa, in Los Angeles, we have people from Texas. We have people from Nebraska. I know we've got some people out from California. What we value is not based on where we grew up. It is not based on what our family was. It is based on the recognition that it is better to be free than to not be free. It is based on the recognition that while we may need government, we do not need government to take care of us. We can take care of ourselves. The media, for all of their talk and all of their bluster, and it doesn't matter if they're on MSNBC or move over to Current TV, it doesn't matter if they're in the newspapers, it doesn't matter if it's a blog, will continue to attack and continue to not understand that we own, quite literally, the political and cultural debate in America. Allow me to prove this to you, and allow me to prove this to you. The 2010 elections were our victory, not the victory of the Republican Party. That is heresy in some corners, ladies and gentlemen. But its reality is the same, because it is the Tea Party that pushed forth the agenda that politics as usual is over. It's over. That the value cannot be based on the thesis of, well, that's the way it's done. To hell with that's the way it's done. We want it done our way. And there is no one running in this 2012 election who can even dream of not being involved, not getting the help, not getting the support of we, the Tea Party. You simply cannot get elected in the United States of America without us. And it's not because of money, and it's not because of access to the press. You see a lot of conservatives out there in the press, don't you? We own all the television stations. We own all the news. We've got Simon. That's, by the way, the best Iowa accent I ever heard on Simon. Is that fantastic? But part two is this cultural conversation. That the Tea Party has quite literally changed the culture in the United States of America. We have created the conversation that is necessary to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We recognize that those aren't words, those are actions. And every day we wake up to ensure that we secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That it involves our civic responsibility and opportunity to be engaged in how the nation gets shaped. This is not an anomaly. This is the norm. But I was fully aware that we controlled the cultural debate in America last summer. Last summer, there were a series of commercials that came out on television. Madison Avenue, paying attention. The first was a short-lived commercial for Kraft Macaroni and Cheese. No, they're not a sponsor, but they should be. And Kraft Macaroni and Cheese did a very strange commercial engaging a housewife, a mom, and Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson and macaroni and cheese. No, there is no way. You know, if it was maybe something in Virginia, sure. You could see it. You could get away with it. But it didn't make sense. Why is it there? Then, maybe one of the best commercials I've ever seen in my life, right up there with Where's the Beef? See, I'm checking the age of the crowd. Not everybody knows that. That's how young the crowd is here today. For those of you who think we're just a bunch of old people, take a look around. You're screwed in future elections. But there was a commercial for Dodge. And in this commercial, you have the redcoats coming out through brush just like that. They're in lines, they're in two lines, they're moving forward. All of a sudden, from out there comes a scout, a young kid, can't be older than 15 years old, running through, and he's speaking to the commander. That's where they are. That's where the American forces are. That's where the Yanks are. And the commander gives the order, and the first row of redcoats gets down on one knee, pulls out their guns and aims. The second row, right on top, they're ready to go. They're ready to fight. They're ready to take on those Yankees, those rabble-rousers. A moment of silence happens, and what comes through the brush? A Dodge Challenger driving as fast as it can, an American flag sticking out the back, and who's driving that car? George Washington. And the tagline was, America got a couple of things right. Cars and freedom. Madison Avenue is interested in the money. I'm a capitalist. Thank God they are. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's not a bad word. If they tell you capitalism or free market's a bad word, tell them they're liars to their face and tell them Tony Katz said so. Madison Avenue is targeting somebody when they place an ad, ladies and gentlemen. And they were targeting the Tea Party. They don't target an audience because that audience is small. They target an audience when they put out a commercial because the audience is wide. Now, maybe they targeted the Tea Party audience because we're the ones who actually have jobs. But I come here today to tell you that what we are doing is working even in corners you don't ordinarily see. It is behind the scenes working. It is in the hearts and minds of every American, even those who can't stand us, even those who truly, truly hate us, cannot deny the reality that we control the political and cultural debate in America. You want more proof? Look around. That's a major rainstorm that came through. Take a look at the skies, a little clearing coming, but we may see another band of rain. And someone else who has broken through the political and cultural debate in America is Sarah Palin. That's not, so for the record, that's not an endorsement. That's a reality. That's the reality. And reality is very frightening for those people who engage in fantasy, meaning the hardcore leftist progressives. That reality drives them crazy. That reality is killing them. That reality is going to destroy them in 2012. They will be crushed. They will be replaced. That's not a bad term. It is we doing this work. It is not one person. It is not one woman. It is not one man. We do this. The thousands of us here today in the rain, the thousands of us who gathered in the snow a few months back, and the unbelievable numbers of us who will do what it takes to prove to America that we cannot go down this path, that the Tea Party message of the Constitution, capitalism, fiscal responsibility, and smaller government is the only message, and we will be victorious. I'm Tony Katz. Thank you.
Let's give a hand for Tony Katz. PJTV. You know, in April 15th of 2009, there were 7 cities recognized by PJTV as the best organized and per capita attended Tea Parties in America. I was a co-founder of that group, the Des Moines Tea Party. They're still active today. And there were many great volunteers that stepped forward to organize that event. Now we have a recording artist, Krista Branch. She started singing at church at a very young age, and she's never stopped. A year ago, she released a YouTube music video, I Am America. It went viral and gained her national recognition with appearances on Fox and Friends, The O'Reilly Factor, Glenn Beck Program, and many more. Her personal favorite, the coveted front page of the Huffington Post. All of her music can be found right now on iTunes. As a special treat today, in a few minutes, Krista will make her public debut of her new single, Can You Hear Us Now? She is a Tea Party favorite. She sung at many Tea Party events. But first, here she is singing her breakout hit, I Am America. And before she starts, I want to mention to all of you that her husband, Pastor Mike Branch, and Krista have a tent up there along the row closest to the road and farthest to the east. She is, and so please go up there and get a video, or a CD, I mean. It helps them out. They came here at no expense, and this is their ministry. And so all of you Tea Party folks out there, if you'll please go over and buy a CD, and after you hear her sing, you'll want to go over there and buy a CD. Krista Branch.
You guys look awesome. Woo! Here we go. To the people in the street, crying out for accountability. Make a joke of what we believe. Say we don't matter 'cause you disagree. Pretend you're kings, sit on your throne. Look down your nose at the peasants below. I've got some news, we're taking names. We're waiting now for the judgment day. Preach your tolerance, but lecture me. Is there no end to your own hypocrisy? Your God is power, you have no shame. Your only interest is political gain. You hide your eyes and refuse to listen. You play your games and abuse the system. You stuff your pockets while Rome is burning. I've got a feeling that the tide is turning. Your pockets while Rome is burning. I've got a feeling that the tide is turning. I am America. United we stand. I am America. One hope to heal our I am United. Thank you so much.
Our next performers, I should say, is Stacy Stelting and her sister Carrie. They're going to sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And if you recall from history, it was written on the banks out in during the Civil War. And our country was torn apart, as it is now, between those who believe in the Constitution, limited government, free enterprise, and those on the left who believe that government is the answer to all problems. I thought the song was appropriate. And I want to introduce both sisters and sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And isn't it great the rain has let up?
Oh, yeah.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling down the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never sound retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet, while God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
strong for America. Thank you.
Thank you all. And remember, join us at unitetheusa.org.
You too. Keep it up. Keep it up. Oh,
Let us live to make men free. Samuel Adams, one of our founding fathers, said, "It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men." Ladies and gentlemen, that in a nutshell is the Tea Party of America and tea parties across our country. Live to set men free. Fight the good fight. You know, after the Tea Party started, all the Tea Parties, there was a survey done amongst 360,000 Tea Party associated members. The number one concern of Tea Party patriots across America was restore ourselves back to the Constitution that our founding fathers wrote. Well, now our founding fathers wrote a great form of government, an excellent form of government. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to quote my good friend Herman Cain. Ladies and gentlemen, we now are the defending fathers of our Constitution and of America. I just want to make this one announcement. You know, Harry Reid said a few years ago or 2 years ago, I don't know when he said, you know, he's just irritating to me, but he said, the Tea Party is dead. Well, are we dead? No, we're not. Exodus 1:12, in Exodus 1:12, it is written, the more they were afflicted, the greater their multitude grew. Ladies and gentlemen, we citizens of America are living on an oppressive regime. We are afflicted. We are put down. The news media puts us down. Everybody says we're going to fail. Tom Harkin, you know Tom. Yeah. I have a problem with him. And he'll be here in a couple of weeks for his picnic. Now, Tom is an interesting person. When he's running for office, you'd think he was a conservative. You know, he said in February of 2010, it was written in the Des Moines Register, that the Tea Party is insignificant and irrelevant. Well, I've got a message for you, Tom. In 2 years, if you decide to run again, you'll see how insignificant and irrelevant we are, because we will remove you from office. Our country has been under attack, and it didn't happen just recently. It happened many, many, many years ago, and I'm talking the communist movement in America. Ronald Reagan was once a Democrat, and he said, I did not leave the party left me. What he was referring to is the Screen Actors Guild, which he was the president of the Screen Actors Guild. In the early 50s, Khrushchev made an announcement, former president of the USSR, that we will destroy America from within. They're reaching their goal. They've taken God out of our public schools. They've taken God out of every branch of society. The Christian church is under attack. Communism. And there's more, many more. They itemized 21 things in which they will take America down from within. And it's happening, and it has happened. Socialism, they say it's the answer, right? Socialism is not the answer. Under socialism or communism, everybody's equal. That's true. Equally poor. Barack Obama has to go. His administration has to go. His administration only has 8 or 9% of people who have actually been in business. When my friend Herman Cain was asked that question last December in Des Moines, what percentage of your administration would have business experience? And he said about 80%. Also, the Tea Party has been attacked this week. There was a black congressman that said that the goal and mission of the Tea Party is to hang black people. Herman Cain came to our defense on the Greta program, and he said it was obnoxious what these people are saying. We're also been called terrorists. Are there any terrorists here today? No. We have fear that our country is being taken over, and we will not allow that to happen. And I have committed myself to this Tea Party movement for 2.5 years, and we are growing in numbers, They don't think that the Tea Party is relevant. They don't think the Tea Party is growing. Well, it is growing, ladies and gentlemen, and it will continue to grow, because the more we are oppressed, the greater our multitude will grow. We have enemies out there, the liberal left, the mainstream media, George Soros and his billions of dollars. They're going to try to take, and we can just brace for it. Over the next year up until the election, they're going to talk dirty about all of us. That's all they have to talk. They have no other issues to talk about, but they badmouth people. They try to tear them down and everything else. Well, I don't really care. They can tear me down, but my commitment is to America, the Constitution, and freedom. Freedom. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to be involved in this movement. And again, I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and all the volunteers that have put so much hard work into this event. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's me again. I want to thank you all again for being here today. I've got a serious subject I want to talk about for about 3 minutes. I'm going to try and get through it. I don't know that I can. I probably won't. A couple of years ago, my wife works with a lady, has a little boy. A lot of you probably saw him on television. And the little boy, in January of last year, I believe it was diagnosed here in Des Moines with brain cancer. Was told by doctors here they would try to stave off the inevitable for a short period of time. They refused to take that prognosis because she did work with a great corporation and had great group insurance. They said no. And they took this baby to the Mayo Clinic, and he was operated on. He was operated on again. And then he went to St. Jude's. And the only reason he was able to do that was because of the greatest medical system in the world. I just want you all to meet him. His little Bradley Allen. This is his mom and dad. I asked him to do the Simba thing where he held him up. I don't know if he will or not. This is Chris Allen, Angie Allen. And this is the greatest insurance, proof of the greatest insurance system in the world is this little boy. He's cancer-free today, ladies and gentlemen. We must get rid of Obamacare. And this is the living proof of it. Give him a hand. You guys ready to laugh? I don't usually say this about many people, but this little fella's strange. Strange little fella. Get up here. Mr. Eric Golub. He's going to make you laugh for a couple of minutes.
Let me tell you, as somebody who lives in Los Angeles among a bunch of left-wing basket cases, it is an absolute honor and a privilege to be among so many of my fellow gun-toting, Bible-thumping, flag-waving, Palin-appreciating, freedom-loving patriots who are going to fire Barack Obama. You are the loveliest bunch of astroturf I have ever seen in my life. And ma'am, you don't look like a violent, angry mob. You look like a nice person. I bet you've never even been a Wisconsin protester. Now, I'm here because our freedoms are under assault, and it starts at the top. And I have a message for Barack Obama. Mr. Obama, none of us care if you are light-skinned or dark-skinned. We've never cared. The problem we have with you, sir, is that you and your supporters are thin-skinned. They treat any criticism like an act of war. The only time they understand war, kinetic conflicts, and then they tell us to go along to get along and be bipartisan. Now, when a liberal tells a conservative, be bipartisan, what that liberal is really telling the conservative is, shut up and agree with me. Well, if the left would like bipartisanship, I've got ways we can be bipartisan and we'll all get along just fine. First, let's compromise on the issue of gun control. And I know some of you are like, what did that hippie with the long hair from the People's Republic of Los Angeles just say? Yeah, let's compromise on gun control. Here's how it works. Liberals favor gun control, conservatives are against it. Well, let's be bipartisan. Let's simply take away all the guns from the liberals and give them to us. That way, if there's ever a conflict like Election 2000 that cannot be resolved peaceably, we will win because we will have all the guns. Let's compromise on taxes. The left favors higher taxes, the right favors lower taxes. Well, if the left likes socialism and wealth redistribution so much, fine by me. Let's simply take the money from them and give it to us. And if they try to stop us, remember my first bullet point, we will have all the guns. Some things you do not compromise on. Sarah Palin is so pro-life. She has such a value for human life that Sarah Palin would even bring a child into this world if she knew that modern medical technology would show that it would be defective ideologically like Nancy Pelosi. Now that's pro-life. People say you can't even make fun of Barack Obama. You know, they say he's like actor Will Smith. He's just so cool and calm, collected, doesn't get rattled. Well, for those who say we can't make fun of Barack Obama, this is still America. So I say, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we should. Yes, we absolutely will. And the message you delivered in November was, Mr. President, no, you can't, no, you won't, and no, you don't. There is tons to make fun of Barack Obama. First of all, he's nothing like actor Will Smith. I saw the movies Independence Day and Men in Black. Will Smith secured the borders and took care of the aliens. Let's start out with the obvious. Barack Obama's head is so disproportioned, they should rename the presidential plane Air Force One. And you would think with ears that size, just once he would listen, but he doesn't. There is tons to make fun of Barack Obama. I don't want to say that he's a... But I look at him and I think, picture what would happen if Jacques Chirac and John Kerry had a baby. You know what? I'm going to take that back because there is nothing wrong with being half black, but to say somebody's half French is unforgivable. But I don't want the second coming of Jacques Chirac and John Kerry. I would rather the second coming of Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. The second coming of Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, that being Sarah Palin. Now, with Governor Palin in mind, I wrote the book Ideological Bigotry with a couple of follow-ups. I've got books and t-shirts back there. I recommend the books because they're more expensive. Now, I did the research as to why the left hates the right, and they do hate our guts. It is because we exist and we breathe air. That's it. Take the word Jewish, and by the way, a quick tangent, I should have known better as somebody driving long distances. Let me tell you, as a Jewish person, never ever rely on a Palestinian GPS tracker. I took one wrong turn, ended up at a cemetery, and a very sinister voice said, "You have reached your final destination." Take the word Jewish, replace it with the word conservative. Take the words Hamas and Hezbollah, replace it with liberal Democrat. The left are verbal suicide bombers, except less warm and fuzzy. And if you're a minority and a conservative, a Michael Steele, a Sarah Palin, and Eric Cantor, they will try to destroy you, and they will try to rip you to shreds if you believe in radical Christian notions such as, oh, I don't know, something dangerous and sinister in Christianity like love thy neighbor. Late at night, I was worried about Osama bin Laden wielding a bomb, not terribly threatened by Pat Robertson wielding a book. So why do they hate Sarah Palin? Not because of anything she says or does. The left hates Sarah Palin for the reason they hate all conservatives, because she is. Now, I don't agree with Sarah Palin on every issue. And maybe I shouldn't say this in front of her supporters, but I'm going to, being from California. I can't stand her position on traditional marriage. I think it's awful. What I mean by that is I can't stand the fact that she's married to somebody who's not me. When told I was going to speak before Sarah Palin, I asked for advice. They said, "You want advice? Her husband will be standing there. Please put the jewelry and flowers away." What do you say about Superwoman? This is a woman who ran an entire state, had a budget surplus, whatever that is, I'm from California, 5 lovely children that she picks up and takes to school while balancing everything else. Barack Obama only has 2 children. He has Joe Biden picking them up from school. The left should love Sarah Palin. She has a beautiful, adorable, special needs child that she cares for while balancing everything else. For that reason alone, the left should worship Sarah Palin and adopt her as one of their own, because the leftist haters are an entire political ideology of special needs children. And unlike Trig, they're not very lovable. All you hear from them is gimme, gimme, I need, I want, I deserve, I'm entitled. No, you don't. When you're 4 years old, it's mildly adorable. When you're 64, like Barbara Boxer, Hillary Clinton, or the Pelosi Raptor, it is intolerable. On the subject of 4-year-olds, my friend and his wife recently adopted a baby boy, handsomest little fella on the planet, can raise his arms after a touchdown, melts my heart, and I affectionately refer to this child as the boy. And the more I look at the boy, the more he reminds me of the president. I mean, both the boy and the president are adorable little gas bags. They both spend hours looking and admiring at themselves in the mirror. They should both work for the 3M company because their favorite words are me, mine, and more. And when they don't get their way, they both throw temper tantrums and need to be sent to their room for a timeout. Barack Obama's first timeout, Scott Brown. Second timeout, 2010. Third timeout when we fire him in 2012. Want to say a couple words about our military? How many minutes do I have, sir? I'll make some time for our military. Let me tell you something. For those of you who are military, thank you and welcome home. Now, 3 minutes? Okay. Not to brag, because real heroes don't need to announce that they're heroes, but I know something about war zones. I did 2 tours of duty as a student in a New York public school. You're welcome. Now, as for why I became a conservative, I became a conservative because I am the son of a Holocaust survivor. And when you are the son of a Holocaust survivor, you will not get an ounce of sympathy growing up for anything as long as you live. Teenage angst did not exist in my household. I remember at age 14, I tried to convince my dad social studies class was too hard. He just looked at me unsympathetically and asked, "Did the teacher try to shoot you?" I said, "No, Dad." He said, "Upstairs, books, learn, personal responsibility." Now, my parents are still complaining in South Florida. My dad's like, "We have got to secure the border." I said, "Dad, what have the Cubans ever done to you? They vote conservative. What's the problem? What do you have against Marco Rubio?" He said, "Son, I'm talking about the northern Florida border. The New York liberals keep coming." He wants us to get our best sharpshooters at the Citadel in South Carolina to keep them from reaching Georgia. Arizona, California, Texas, overrun by parasites. They don't work. They drain the state of services. I don't understand what they're saying. I don't recognize my own country anymore because of people who take and don't give back. Of course, I'm talking about AARP liberals. And let me tell you, the reason why people love Sarah Palin is because John Kerry was wrong. Hollywood liberals, and I live in Los Angeles, they are not the heart and soul of America. People like Sarah Palin and her son Track, who have served this country, are the heart and soul of America. 30 seconds on you. Okay. And it is good people like Track and Colonel Allen West and our Navy SEALs who gave Osama bin Laden a message that when his time was done, it was an American who finished the job. And now Osama is burning underground with 72 Helen Thomases. Now, it is always better to have people ask, "Why are you finished speaking?" than "When are you finished speaking?" So I'm going to leave you with a Hebrew word. That word is hineni. It means here I am. Never give up. Never give in. Always fight for what you believe in. Never back down from a fight. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Bring a bazooka or a predator drone if you have one. We are right. The left is wrong. We will win. They will lose. We will laugh. We will make them cry in 2011, 2012, 2013, and beyond, and have fun doing it. Live, love, laugh, win. Hineni, here I am, conservative, proud of it, and proud to stand with the next president of the United States, Sarah Palin. Thank you so very much. Hey, can I make one more joke, or should I stop?
No, come on.
All right.
Give it to Charlie.
Got a few announcements that I'd like to make. Soon there will be some people walking through the crowd. And if you have in your heart to donate to help offset the cost of this event, we would be truly, truly grateful. They will be walking through the crowd. I think some of you may have some cards that you want to fill out to join the Tea Party of America. Drop them in the same bucket. They'll be through the crowd from now until the end of the program. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you could help us offset the cost of this event today, we would be very, very grateful. A couple of other announcements I'd like to make is one, here is a poster, and it's up at a booth up there. Which booth is it? Ken. Hey, Ken. Which booth is this at? Which booth? Tea Party Review. Tea Party Review is in that line right up there. This is a great poster. The 2011 presidential debate with Sarah Palin. They're $10 each. And the gentleman who talked a little bit earlier today will be up in the booth. He's with Tea Party. What Tea Party what? There's so many Tea Parties.
Tea Party Review Magazine.
Tea Party Review Magazine. All right, and it helps him to offset his costs to fly in here and perform today.
It also, a part of the proceeds goes to Sarah PAC, and that's what it's about. That's right.
I'd like to also promote this souvenir magazine. There's a lot of great reads in here promoting the Tea Party movement across America. There's a picture of Sarah Palin in here, and they are available at our Tea Party of America tent up there where it says Gear Store. There's a banner standing up in the air. These are only $5. There's a lot of great read in here, not very many commercials, and I think it'll inspire you to keep involved in the Tea Party movement. Often we're asked, what can I do to get involved? You know, I would suggest doing several things. First of all, read a book. The book is called The 5,000-Year Leap. The 5,000-Year Leap is an excellent story about America and about freedom. And I would suggest that you buy the book up at the SOAR table up here. Jim and Kathy Carley are very close friends of mine, and they're selling the book up there at their vending booth. It's called The 5,000-Year Leap. And if you think about it, there's a lot of meaning in that title of that book. Also, a good friend of mine, Dave Davidson. We've known each other for quite some time. He's a great man and a great father. Recently, or I think it was last year, his son carried Bibles through China and ran into some pretty difficult stuff. But Dave is our official photographer. We have many unofficial photographers, but he's our official photographer. And he's written a book called The T-E-A Publican, and his newest book that just came out is Sarah Palin Inspires Me. And I believe it could be, go online to order it, Dave, and go to the website Inspire Me Biography. No.
If you go to sarahpalininspiresme.com, the book is free this weekend. How about that? Okay, spread the word. And I just got one question for you, Charlie. Does this poncho make me look fat? Yeah, okay. See, I'm going to go back over there. Okay, thanks.
Very, very much. Okay, I want to reintroduce Krista Branch. This is her debut of her new CD. Please welcome back on the stage Krista Branch. And this CD is the first time that it has been sung in front of an audience.
This song is dedicated to all of you. This is Can You Hear Us Now? Here we go. Like a storm brewing across the horizon, there's a reckoning coming like Judgment Day. Finally, we've been awakened from this nightmare. Voice upon voice, like a crashing wave. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? The soul of freedom is crying out. Can you hear us now? When I see those innocent tiny faces, I wonder if freedom will have a chance to give them the blessings I've been given. They are the reason that we stand. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? The soul of freedom is crying out. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? This is our time. We must turn the tide. Our finest hour is upon us. This is our chance, a chance to make it right. And there is nothing that will stop us. Can you hear us now? 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 The soul of freedom is crying out. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Thank you so much. Come visit me at my tent. I'd love to see you.
That song, as Pastor Mike said, it's available online and iTunes. Just last night, it was released on iTunes. Krista Branch, a Tea Party favorite. I'd like to now welcome a few folks here that have spent countless number of hours. They're good friends of mine. I've known them for over 2 years. And I'd like to have them come up on the stage now. Kathy, Richard, Marcy. This is Kathy Rogers and her husband, Richard. They're very avid Palin supporters. Kathy was the event coordinator. Richard, her husband, also put in a number of hours. Just yesterday, he learned, or I guess it was Thursday night, he learned that he had to fly. He flies for a gentleman here in the Des Moines area. He has his pilot license. I guess he had to fly down to Florida, then someplace else, then up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, then finally got home last night to help with the rally. Yeah, he was here last night on 1 hour of sleep. This is Jeannie Shetuk, and Jeannie and her husband Tom are good friends, and they have been great volunteers. This is this lady here, Marcy Hora. She is known as the volunteer in many of the Tea Party activities across America. She's a dear friend, a wonderful lady. Then my buddy Greg Cummings. Greg's a military man. He is with Strong America now, and he also started the Southern Iowa Tea Party Patriot movement down in Southern Iowa. He and I have got to know each other. He's a great person, a patriot, a veteran, and an all-around great guy. I love him like a brother. Over here, this is my buddy Steve McCoy and his wife Evelyn. We needed some volunteers to help put on this event, and Evelyn in Warren County is known as the recruiter of volunteers. And within a matter of a week, she had over 150 volunteers that signed up to help us with this event. Over here, another organizer, Myrna Bieber. She's also a Sarah Palin supporter. She's very active. She has put in, all these people have put in countless hours, and a great person and a great patriot. Thank you. And yeah. This is my buddy Judd Saul. Judd lives in Cedar Rapids. At one time, Cedar Falls, I'm sorry, Cedar Falls. And at one time, he was a movie producer in the state of Iowa. And I'm not going to go into his story, but I just want you to know that again in February, he'll be going on another mission trip to Nigeria. He's a devout man. He's a missionary. He is an entrepreneur. And he handled all the press credentials here at this event today. Judd Saul. And over here behind the scenes is another volunteer, a very active person in the Tea Party movement, Craig Bergman. Craig is handling almost all of the production here today. He's a very talented, bright young man. And thanks, Craig, for doing all you're doing. It's an honor to introduce the next speaker. I've known Ryan for over 2 years. He's a young man with a bright career. He was involved in the first Tea Party movement back in April 15th of 2009. He graduated from Iowa State University in 2008, and then he ran for office at the age of 22 or 3 or 4, I don't remember, up in Story County. Ryan Rhodes has now become the Joe Plummer of Iowa. Ryan, on a Monday, he was up in, I think it was Decorah, and just happened to be there when Barry Soetoro, or is it Barack Hussein Obama? I don't recall. Well, one of them same names. But Ryan and Stacey Rogers were the people that got in President Obama's face when Ryan asked him, why do you say, or what does your vice president say, that Tea Party members are terrorists? I don't believe the president had an answer. Immediately after that event, Ryan became a, a countrywide hero to many Tea Party patriots. He stood there in front of Barack Obama and asked him the question. I called Ryan the next morning as I just heard that he had spoken to the president. And thankfully, he took my call, and I told him he needs to get a private phone line for his buddies because soon nobody's going to be able to get through to him. He's been on Rush Limbaugh program. He's talked to Rush Limbaugh. He's talked to many other news commentators. I want you to welcome a great Tea Party patriot, Iowa's version of Joe the Plumber, Ryan Rhodes. Ryan? Love you, buddy.
Thank you, Charlie. Now, before I talk real quick, I do want to mention something. I'm also going to be talking at TCon, who's here today on September 30th and October 1st, and I told them for all they're doing, you can stop back and let everybody know to sign up to go there, and you can go to tconmidwest.com. The other thing I want to mention is there's a tent over there, SOAR, and Mark Levin gave me a couple signed books, so I want to make sure I can give back to people who are out there. So SOAR, who's going to be putting a lot of good stuff together around here and also using it for scholarships for young conservatives, they're actually auctioning off that Mark Levin signed book back there, so stop by their tent. Finally, I want to get to Stacy, who is the other person who is there as well. She is going to toss out the tea. Now, she's running for State House, so everybody in Ankeny or around, make sure you put a great conservative out there into the State House, and she's going to hand out one of the tea that Rush sent out. So. Now, I told a few people behind stage, too, that I would do this because they, the liberals seem to go out there and say, all us Tea Party terrorists out there, and I see a lot of terrorists out in this audience, we're dumb, we're stupid, we couldn't handle it. Well, I'll tell you what, if they don't think we can handle it, I'll tell you right now, Barack Obama's welcome to come out to Iowa or bring me out, and I'll debate him any day of the week. Now, that's a lot of people might say that's a problem. Barack Obama's not getting out in front of people, and they do try to pick the crowd pretty well. But I will tell you, there's a few of us that can sneak in there, and I encourage anybody else in the audience to do what you can to get in front and let Mr. Obama know that there are some of us that aren't his fawning, adoring fans anymore, and that we just don't like the direction it's going. But this brings me back to when I was kind of thinking about this morning, what to say and what to do, what to do today, especially since we have Governor Palin coming in, who's done so much for the movement, and I get the opportunity to kind of lead up right going into her. And it brought me back to something one of my old teachers said, because Barack Obama complained about being called a socialist and all these other things. And I had an old teacher I used to get in some arguments with, and he told me, he said, you can call it progressivism, you can call it socialism, you can call it communism, you can call it liberalism. I don't care as long as we work in that same direction. And that says the heart of it to what they're going after is the fact that they want big government. I mean, he sat there and he said, it's all the same side of one coin. Well, we've figured out what that coin is, and it's Barack Obama. And we don't want it anymore. And I'll tell you, that gets to another thing, because they keep saying these things: terrorists, hostage takers, all these names. God knows what it is. KKK. I don't even know all the things that I've been called. I'll have to go back and check my emails to remember them. But they can say all those things, and the reason they say all the things, and the reason it's important to keep asking them, how do we negotiate with someone who's really not negotiating with us in good faith? Because that's what the real question gets down. You can ask them about jobs, you can ask them about the economy, and they're going to make up something and then call us unreasonable. But what it really gets to the heart of is this is about a big government agenda, and the fact is they're just saying what they believe. They believe we are terrorists to their agenda. They believe that we're out there going to stop it, and their agenda's under attack, and you're darn right we're going to stop their agenda. So it gets down to the underlying truth that every tiny step we take forward towards big government, you can't take a step for big government without taking freedom away from the individual. It doesn't happen. Now that gets me to thinking about another thing. They're kind of uncomfortable with the word American exceptionalism. Nowhere else in the world has there literally been defined as exceptional. There's not Chinese exceptionalism, European exceptionalism, Canadian exceptionalism. It's American exceptionalism. Because we believe that that's what defines us. Exceptionalism defines people in this country because we're free and our rights came from God, not our government. And this is where we have a sharp divergence from the agenda of Barack Obama, the agenda of mediocrity that said, and the promotion of the fear of failure that says, God forbid somebody make it, somebody succeed. We're going to have to spread that wealth around if you do, because that's fair to us. It's not fair, because what it does is you can't have the American dream. You can't have American exceptionalism when someone is saying, you can be this exceptional. Someone else, maybe this exceptional. No, you cannot put a ceiling on exceptionalism, because once you do it, the next person will rise above that. And that is what's great about our country. Now, the other thing is to have that freedom to succeed. You also have to have a freedom to fail. And we don't think about that very much. But I'll tell you what, I've failed a lot. I've fallen on my face. I've set up a rally that didn't work. I've, messed up in a class. I've done any number of things that didn't succeed. But I'll tell you what, I refuse to be held down by that. I refuse to live in that failure. We as a country have refused to live in that failure. We as a country will succeed because failure is not an option, and failure won't define who we are. When you get to thinking about that, you think about some people that are out there that have been under attack, that continue day by day to press through. Now, Sarah's one of them. How many people have watched the media onslaught go against her? The liberals going up and saying, trying to tear her down, trying to stop her. But you know what? She's going to succeed. Whether she runs for president, whether she advances our conservative agenda, that's not the point. The point is she's a success story because she won't let failure define who she is. And I want every person in this audience to remember that. When you're walking through, when the times are hard, when things are going wrong, because it's going to happen. None of us are going to have it easy. That's the beautiful thing about having freedom, is that you can keep pressing on, and the government is not going to say, you're going to be this mediocre. We're just not going to let you be that great, so deal with it. You can rise up about that, whether it's the story about a kid overcoming cancer, which probably won't happen if our healthcare system goes forward. They're not going to be able to do that. Whether it's the story of someone else who came literally living in a trailer or homeless, and all of a sudden becomes wealthy beyond their wildest dreams because they found a way to success, because they looked to God, they looked to their neighbor, and they looked elsewhere besides government. Because every time you look to your government, you settle for something less than your worth. And I think that's really why we have to continue confronting them. That's why we have to ask them, why are you going to advance your big government agenda? Why are you going to go forward with that when it really is against everything that's in the American spirit? It's just against common sense. It's like even psychologically, we weren't made that. Our Constitution started with something great. It said all men were created equal. There's something in there. We were created to realize that we can go beyond what's been there. Our nation proves it. We went beyond every other nation, and we've brought the entire world along with us. We won't bow down in that. We will not take our nation and make it less exceptional. If they want to come catch up with us, they can come get us. But in 2012, we're going to throw Barack Obama out of office, and we're going to make sure we can return to that American exceptionalism once again. Thank you guys very much.
Okay, guys, she's in the house. Calm down, calm down. Whoa, back. Back. All right. Whoa. We got a couple more minutes here, and you're going to like what's coming now. Just hang on, Tigers. All right, real quick. We are here for one purpose, and that is to unite as a conservative force. We need to unite. Before you go home today, get up to the Hill, join the association, sign up, and let's get active, people. We have to. We must. I've got a special fella now. You ready to see a Grammy singer? Grammy award-winning singer? Let's do it, Mr. Steve Voss.
Thank you, Ken. Just one more little delay. After I was up here before, it started raining. I'm up here again, and we're done with the rain. Sunshine from here on out. This song I'm going to do, I originally wrote a few years ago. It was moving up the charts. It was the most requested song in the nation. But then some big city radio stations decided they didn't want to play it. They said, we don't care how many requests we get for it. We don't care where it is on the charts. We're not going to play it because we don't agree with it. So the record company, RCA, dropped me. Told me I couldn't re-record it or re-release it for 5 years. I told them where they could stick it. First thing I did when I got home was I bootlegged my own copies of it. You can get them up there later. Say hi to RCA for me. But here's the thing. I don't think it's right that they can sing about some of the things they sing on the radio, but I couldn't sing about God and country. God and country is the first thing we should be singing about on the radio. And the last, and everything in between. This song is called We Must Take America Back, and I'll sing it as long as I got one breath left in my lungs. The American dream has become a nightmare. Signs of the time are on cardboard on corners in town. Like a cancer that's silently spreading, there's an unspoken fear. We're on our way down. We must take America back. Main Street to Wall Street, cities and states, Washington, D.C. Before it's too late, there's not long. We need leaders who lead us, not stick us and bleed us and ransom our future and our children's. That's wrong. We must take America back as liberty weeps. Our forefathers spend in their graves. Pray God will bless some way out of this mess. We must take America back. Fight for freedom and the soul of the USA. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you will, please turn your attention to the monitors for a very special presentation.
The secret is out, it seems, within seconds.
Sarah Palin was also at the fair today.
And on this day, she happens to be in Iowa.
Another leg of her One Nation bus tour.
Welcome to Iowa State Fair. Congratulations. Thank you.
She's a normal person, just like every one of us.
Hi, my name's Cheryl.
And I like that because I'm a farm wife. It shows that she can do what we can do.
Very nice, very kind to us, including our two small kids.
She seems pretty down to earth.
She's pretty solid. She's awesome.
Oh, we love her.
Is there a must-have food for you here?
Yes, there's the fried butter on the stick, fried
not really gonna
cheesecake
eat
on a
that.
stick. Heck yeah.
I was following Sarah Palin around the state fair. It was one of those telling moments that you can capture only if you're here on the ground.
Because she has so much energy around her.
Grabbing the attention of Iowans and, yes, the media.
There were hordes of media around her, but she wanted to answer my questions.
So nice of Sarah Palin to stay there and answer all of your questions.
She said, I would tell all the people to do what you do, no talking points, talk from your heart. That's what people want to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Sarah Palin.
I think the good folks here in Iowa, you could ask anybody here, and I think that they would tell you it's time that this country is put back on the right track, that the economy is strengthened, jobs are created in the private sector, and they're ready for some positive change. But doggone it, there is no faith given to the American people, to our small businesses, understanding that you all know better how to spend your own money than politicians in Washington, D.C. know how to spend. I think we're seeing a great awakening of the American public, the individual Americans who want the exceptionalism put back into our country.
Your passion is rising.
It's not just me, it's so many Americans who we are speaking with today. That passion is real, it's sincere. These folks love this country. They want to make sure that we are handing the next generation the blessings of liberty. And that is why it's so important for people to get engaged. Let's do what we know America needs done. Empower the people of America.
Governor Sarah Palin.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Iowa. It is so wonderful to be here. Thank you. Thank you. What an honor. Thank you, Iowa. Thank you so much. Thank you. The sign that says thank you, Sarah. No, I thank you. You are what keeps me going, keeps so many of us going. Your love of country keeps us going. Thank you so much. Iowa, you are good people. You are all good people who are here. Thank you. It is an honor to be in the heartland sharing this Labor Day weekend with you. And I thank you so much for the invitation to these organizers who put so much work into all this. It's so good to see the O for P and C for P people here today. So last night was fun getting to run into some of you at the restaurant and to see so many demographics represented in so many different states, you know, all across our great nation here. We got to gather together last night. Demographics represented, different political parties even represented. And Todd reminded me as we walked out of that room last night, he said, see, we're not celebrating red America or blue America. We're celebrating red, white, and blue America. So what brought us here today out in this field? Why aren't we catching a Cyclones game or watching the Hawkeyes perhaps, or grilling up some venison and corn on the cob, maybe some caribou with some friends on this Labor Day weekend? What brought us together is a love of country. And we see that America is hurting. We're not willing to just sit back and watch her demise through some fundamental transformation of the greatest country on earth. We're here to stop that transformation and to begin the restoration of the country that we love. We're here because America is at at a tipping point. America faces a crisis. And it's not a crisis like perhaps a Midwest summer storm, the kind that moves in and hits hard, but then it moves on. No, this kind will relentlessly rage until we do restore all that is free and good and right about America. It's not just fear of a double-dip recession, and it's not even the shame of a credit downgrade for the first time in U.S. history. It's deeper than that. This is a systemic crisis due to failed policies and incompetent leadership. And we're going to speak truth today. It may be hard-hitting, but we're going to speak truth today because we need to start talking about what hasn't worked, and we're going to start talking about what will work for America. We will talk truth. Now, some of us saw this day coming. It was 3 years ago, on this very day, that I spoke at the GOP convention where I was honored to be able to accept the nomination for vice president that night. And in my speech, I asked America, I said, when the cloud of rhetoric has passed, when the roar of the crowd fades away, what exactly is Barack Obama's plan? What does he actually seek to accomplish after he's done turning back the waters and healing the planet? The answer is to make government bigger, to take more of your money, to give more of it to others, and to take more orders from Washington, and to reduce the strength of America in a dangerous world. I spoke of this, but back then, it was only my words that you had to go by. Now you have seen the proof yourself. Candidate Obama didn't have a record while he was in office, but President Obama sure does, and that's why we're here today. Candidate Obama, he pledged to fundamentally transform America. And for all the failures and the broken promises, that's the one thing that he has delivered on. We've transformed from a country of hope to one of anxiety. Today, 1 in 5 working-age men, they're out of work. 1 in 7 Americans are on food stamps. 30% of our mortgages are underwater. In places like Michigan and California, parts there, they're suffering from unemployment numbers that are greater than during the depths of the Great Depression. Look, Barack Obama promised to cut the deficit in half, and instead he turned around and he tripled it. And now our national debt is growing at $3 million a minute. That's $4.25 billion a day. President Obama, is this what you call winning the future? I call it losing our country, and with it, the American dream. President Obama, these people, these Americans, feel that fierce urgency of now. But do you feel it, sir? The Tea Party was born of this urgency. It's the same sense of urgency that propelled the Sons of Liberty during the Revolution. It's the same sense of urgency that propelled the abolitionists before the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement during the 20th century. The Tea Party movement is part of this noble American tradition. This movement isn't simply a political awakening. It's an American awakening. Not the politicos in the Beltway, not those types. No, it's you who grow our food, you run our small businesses, you teach our children, you fight our wars. We are always proud of America. We love our country in good times and in bad, and we never apologize for America. See, now that is why the far left's irresponsible and radical policies really awakened a sleeping America, so that we finally understood what it was that we were about to lose. We were about to lose the blessings of liberty and prosperity. So the working men and women of this country, you got up off your couch. You came down from the deer stand. You came out of the duck blind. You got off the John Deere, and we took to the streets, and we took to the town halls, and we ended up at the ballot box. And as much as the media wants you to forget this, Tea Party Americans won an electoral victory of historic proportions in November. Well, we the people, we rose up and we rejected the left's big government agenda. We don't want it, we can't afford it, and we are unwilling to pay for it. That victory, though, remember, friends, that was only one step in a long march towards saving our country. We sent a new class of leaders to D.C., but immediately the permanent political class, they tried to co-opt them. Because the reality is, we are governed by a permanent political class until we change that. They talk endless about cutting government, and yet they keep spending more. They talk about massive, unsustainable debt, and yet they keep incurring more. They spend, they print, they borrow, they spend more, and then they stick us with the bill. Then they pat their own backs and they claim that they faced and solved the debt crisis that they got us in. But when we were humiliated in front of the world with our country's first credit downgrade, they promptly went on vacation. No, they don't feel the same urgency that we do. But why should they? For them, business is good. Business is very good. 7 of the 10 wealthiest suburbs are suburbs of Washington, D.C. Polls there actually, and usually I'll say polls, nah, they're for strippers and cross-country skiers. But polls in those parts actually show that some people there believe that the economy has actually improved. See, there may not be a recession in Georgetown, but there is in the rest of America. Yeah, the permanent political class, they're doing just fine. Ever notice how so many of them, they arrive in Washington, D.C. of modest means, and then miraculously throughout the years, they end up becoming very, very wealthy? Well, it's because they derive power and their wealth from their access to our money, to taxpayer dollars. They use it to bail out their friends on Wall Street and their corporate cronies, and to reward contributors, and to buy votes via earmarks. There is so much waste. And there is a name for this. It's called corporate crony capitalism. And this, folks, it's not the capitalism of free men and free markets, of innovation and hard work and ethics, of sacrifice and of risk. No, this is the capitalism of connections and government bailouts and handouts. It's of waste and influence peddling and corporate welfare. This is the crony capitalism that destroyed Europe's economies. It's the collusion of big government and big business and big finance to the detriment of all the rest, to the little guy. It's a slap in the face to our small business owners. The true entrepreneurs, the job creators, accounting for 70% of the jobs in America. It's you who own these small businesses. You're the economic engine, but you don't grease the skids of power in government. So you want to know why the permanent political class never really does cut anything? You really want to know why nothing ever really does get done? It's because there's nothing in it for them. really, there's nothing in it for them. They've got a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of corporate lobbyists, and a lot of special interests that are counting on them to keep the good times and the money rolling along. It doesn't surprise me. I've seen this kind of crony capitalism before. It's the same old good old boy politics as usual that I fought and we defeated in my home state. I took on a corrupt and compromised political class and their backroom dealings with big oil. And I can tell you from experience that sudden and relentless reform never sits well with entrenched interests and power brokers. So please, you must vet a candidate's record. You must know their ability to successfully reform and actually fix problems that they're going to claim that they inherited. Real reform never sits well with the entrenched special interests, and that's why the true voices of reform are so quickly demonized. Look what they say about you. You are concerned, civilized citizens, and look what they say about you. And just look what happened during the debt ceiling debate. We'd been given warning after warning that our credit rating would be downgraded if politicians didn't get serious about tackling the debt and deficit problem. But instead of making the real cuts that are necessary, no, they used Enron-like accounting gimmicks, and they promised that if they were just allowed to spend those trillions more today, well, they'd cut billions 10 years from now. By some magical thinking, they figured they could run up trillion-dollar deficits year after year, yet still somehow avoid the unforgiving mathematics that led to the downgrade. Well, they got a rude awakening from the rest of the world, and that's that even America isn't too big to fail. When we finally did get slapped then with that inevitable downgrade, the politicians and the pundits, they turned around and they blamed us. Independent, common sense conservatives, we got blamed. They called us un-American and terrorists and suicide bombers and hobbits? Couldn't understand that one. And what is the president's answer to this enormous debt problem? It's just spend more money. Only you can't call it spending now. Now you got to call it investing, right? Don't call it spending, call it investing. It's kind of like now. Watch what happens now with FEMA and some of these other bureaucratic agencies. They're saying now they don't really want to refer to our centralized federal government as government. Now it's called the federal family. That's how they'll refer it. Am I too old to ask to be emancipated, I wonder? Never thought I'd say it, but I want a divorce. No, the president's answer to our debt problem is incur more debt, spend more money. Only call it investing. Make more folks even more reliant on government to supply their every need. This is the antithesis of the pioneering American spirit that empowered the individual to work, to produce, to be able to thrive and succeed with fulfillment and with pride. And that in turn built our free and hope-filled and proud country. He wants to win the future by investing more of your hard-earned money in some harebrained ideas like more solar panels and really fast trains. These are things that venture capitalists will tell you they're non-starters, yet he wants to do more of them. We're flat broke, but they think that these panels and really fast trains are going to magically save us. He's shouting, all aboard Obama's bullet train to bankruptcy. The only future that Barack Obama is trying to save is his own re-election. And he has shown that he is perfectly willing to mortgage our children's future to pay for it. And there is proof of this. Just look closely at where all that green energy stimulus money is invested. See a pattern. The president's big campaign donors got nice returns for their investments in him. to the tune of billions of your tax dollars in the form of green energy stimulus funds. The technical term for this is pay to play. Between bailouts for Wall Street cronies and stimulus projects for union bosses' security and green energy giveaways, he took care of his friends. And now they're on course to raise $1 billion for his re-election bid so that they can do it all over again. Are you going to let them do it all over again? Are you willing to unite to do all we can to not let them do it again so we can save our country? Now, to be fair, some GOP candidates, they also raise mammoth amounts of cash, and we need to ask them too. What, if anything, do their donors expect in return for their investments? We need to know this because our country can't afford more trillion-dollar thank you notes to campaign backers. It is an important question, and it cuts to the heart of our problem. And I speak from experience, confronting the corruption and the crony capitalism since starting out in public office 20 years ago. I've been out spending my campaigns 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 5 to 1. And by the way, I don't play that game either of hiring expert political advisors just so they'll say something nice about me on TV, if you ever wonder. You know how that game's played too, I'm sure. But the reason is simple, because like you, I'm not for sale. Because we believe in the free market. I believe in the free market, and that is why I detest crony capitalism. And Barack Obama has showed us cronyism on steroids. It will lead to our downfall if we don't stop it now. It's a root that grows our economic problems, our unsustainable debt, and our high unemployment numbers, and a housing market that's in the tank, and a stagnant economy. These are all symptoms, and politicians are so focused on the symptoms and not the disease. We will not solve our economic problems until we confront the cronyism of our president and our permanent political class. So this is why we must remember that the challenge is not simply to replace Obama in 2012, but the real challenge is who and what we will replace him with, because it's not enough. If we don't change the team and the game plan, we won't save our country. Yes, we need sudden and relentless reform, and that will return power to we the people. This, of course, requires deeds, not just words. It's not good enough for the politicians to just be throwing our way some kind of vague generalities, talking about some promises here and there. It's time that we hold them accountable. It is amazing to me that even some good conservatives, they run away from being honest and straight up with us about what needs to be done. They don't want to rock the boat. They, can't hurt future election prospects, evidently. They just talk vaguely about cuts, and then they move on. Too busy saying what they think that we want to hear, and instead, they should be telling us what needs to be said, what needs to be done. So let us today in this field, let us have that adult conversation about what needs to be done to restore America. Let's do that now. In 5 days' time, our president will gift us with yet another speech. his next speech, he'll reveal his latest new super-duper jobs plan. It will have more lofty goals and flowery rhetoric, more illogical economic fantasies, and more continued blame and finger-pointing. But listen closely to what he says. All of his solutions, they're going to revolve around more of the same, more payoffs for his friends and supporters. His plan is the same as it's always been, and that's grow more government, increase more debt, take and give more of your hard-earned money to special interests. And this is such a problem, but you know what the problems are. We could go on all day about the problems caused by the status quo in Washington. Status quo, I think it's Latin for more of the same of the mess that we're in. That status quo won't work anymore. We could go on all day about the problems, but you know them because you live them every day. So let's talk about real solutions. I want to tell you what my plan is. My plan is a bona fide pro-working man's plan, and it deals in reality. It deals in the way that the world really works. Because we must talk about what really works in order to get America back to work. My plan is about empowerment. Empowerment of our states, empowerment of our entrepreneurs, most importantly, empowerment of you, our hardworking individuals. Because I have faith, I have trust, I have respect for you. The way forward is no more politics as usual. We must stop expanding an out of control and out of touch federal government. This is first. All power not specifically delegated to the federal government by our Constitution is reserved for the states and for we the people. So let's enforce the 10th Amendment. Devolve powers back locally where the founders intended them to be. Second, what happened to all those promises about staying committed to repealing the mother of all big government unfunded mandates? We must repeal Obamacare. And rein in burdensome regulations that are a boot on our neck. Get government out of the way and let the private sector breathe and grow. This will allow the confidence that businesses need in order to expand and hire more people. And third, no more runaway debt. We must prioritize and cut. Cancel unused stimulus funds and have that come to Jesus moment where we own up to the debt challenge that is entitlement reform. See, the reality is we will have entitlement reform. It's just a matter of how we're going to get there. We either do it ourselves or the world capital markets, they're going to shove it down our throats, and we'll have no choice but to reform our entitlement programs. The status quo is no longer an option. Entitlement reform is our duty now, and it must be done in a way that honors our commitment to our esteemed elders today while keeping faith with future generations. I tell you what, I don't think anything has irked me more than this nonsense coming from the White House about maybe not sending our seniors their checks. It's their money. They have paid into Social Security all of their working lives. And for the president to say, we may not be able to cut their checks, well, where did all their money go, politicians? It's like the commander-in-chief being willing to throw our military under the bus, threatening that their paychecks may not arrive. But the politicians will still get their checks and their secure retirements, and he'll still get his posh vacations. Aren't you just sick to death of those skewed priorities? It's all backwards. Our our seniors and our brave men and women in uniform being used as pawns, I say it's shameful, and enough is enough. No more. Fourth, it is time for America to become the energy superpower. The real stimulus that we've been waiting for is robust and responsible domestic energy production. We have the resources. Affordable, secure energy is the key to any thriving economy, and it must be our foundation. So I would do the opposite of Obama's manipulation of U.S. supplies of energy. Drill here, drill now, let the refineries and the pipelines be built. Countries and dictators, asking them to ramp up production and industry for us, promising them that, oh, we'll be their greatest customer. No, not when we have the resources here. We need to move on tapping our own God-given natural resources that are part of our reserves. I promise you this will bring real job growth, not the politicians' phony green jobs, fairy dust sprinkled with wishes and glitter and no, but a hardcore, all of the above energy policy that builds this indestructible link between made in America energy and our prosperity and our security. You know, there are enough conventional, long and large conventional natural resource development projects just waiting in the wings, waiting for government approval that could create more than 1 million high-paying jobs all across the U.S., and this is true stimulus. It wouldn't cost government a dime to allow the private sector to do these. In fact, these projects will generate billions of dollars. Can you imagine that? A stimulus project that actually helps dig us out of debt instead of digging us further into it. And these are good paying jobs, and I know that from experience for years. My own family supported as Todd worked up on the North Slope by a good energy sector job. America's economic revival starts with America's energy revival. Okay, and then fifth, we can and we will make America the most attractive country on earth to do business in. Here's how we're going to do this. Right now, we have the highest federal corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. Did you know our rates are higher than China and communist Cuba? This doesn't generate as much money as you would think, though, because many big corporations, they skirt federal taxes because they have the friends in D.C. who write the rules for the rest of us. This makes us less competitive and restrains the engine of prosperity. Heck, some businesses, they spend more time trying to figure out how to hide their profits than they do in generating more profits so that they can expand and hire more of us. So to make America the most attractive and competitive place to do business, to set up shop here and hire people here, to attract capital from all over the globe that will lead to an explosion of growth instead of chasing industry offshore. I propose to eliminate all federal corporate income tax. And hear me out on this. This is how we create millions of high-paying jobs. This is how we increase opportunity and prosperity for all. But here's the best part. To balance out any loss of federal revenue from this tax cut, we eliminate corporate welfare and all the loopholes, and we eliminate bailouts. This is how we break the back of crony capitalism because it feeds off corporate welfare, which is just socialism for the very rich. We can change all of that. The message then to job-creating corporations is, yeah, we'll unshackle you from the world's highest federal taxes, but you will stand or fall on your own, just like all the rest of us out on Main Street. See, when we empower the job creators, our economy will soar. Americans will get back to work. This plan, it's a first step in a long march towards fundamental restoration of a strong and free market economy. And it represents the kind of real reform that we need. And folks, it must come from you. It must come from the American people. Real hope is in you. It's not that hopey, changey stuff that we heard about back in 2008. We've all learned that. And real hope isn't in an individual. It's not in a politician, certainly. And that hopey, changey stuff that was put in an individual back when Barack Obama was a candidate, that hopey, changey stuff didn't create one job in August, did it? That's the first time that's happened in the United States since World War II. No jobs created. Remember, government can't create jobs either. I get frustrated when the media gets that all wrong, too, talking about how government created this job or that. Government can't create a job. It's the private sector that creates the jobs. And that's pretty fundamental, and we got to get that right. Real hope comes from you. Real hope comes from realizing that we, the people, can make the difference. And you don't need a title to make a difference. We can get this country back on the right track. We can do it by empowering the people and realizing that, man, God has richly blessed this most exceptional nation. And then we do something about that realization. Don't wait for the permanent political class to reform anything for you. They won't. They can't. They can't even take responsibility for their own actions. Our credit is downgraded, but it's not their fault. Our economy's in turmoil, but it's not his fault. It's the tsunami in Japan or the Middle East uprising. It's Irene. It's those doggone ATM machines. Folks, the truth is, Barack Obama is adrift with no plan because his fundamental transformation, it's at odds with everything that made this country great. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't make sense. Unbelievably, our president declares that he believes in American exceptionalism, just as the Greeks believe in Greek exceptionalism. Well, the path he has us on will make us just as exceptional as Greece, all right, with the debt crisis and the stagnation and unemployment and uprisings and all. Friends, you are better than that. Our country is better than that. We've got to unite. We've got to stand together. We can confront the problem, and we can achieve lasting reform. And I can tell you from hard-earned experience with bumps and bruises along the way that the road ahead is not easy. You will be demonized. They'll mock you. They'll make things up. They'll tell you to go to hell. But we'll bite our tongue, we'll keep it classy, and we won't respond, as tempting as it is, to anyone who just has such disdain for our free market economy and for individual initiative and responsibility. We won't say, no, you go to hell. No, we won't say that. We won't say that. You know why we don't have to say that? Because when we have time-tested truth and logic on our side, we win. And when we refuse to retreat because we know that our children's future is at stake, we win. No, the road isn't easy, but it's nothing compared to the suffering and the sacrifice of those who came before us. A few weeks ago, it was after my visit to the Iowa State Fair, and we were on the bus tour. I took my daughter Piper and my niece McKinley with us to the World War I Liberty Memorial in Kansas City. And standing in the rain, reading the inscriptions there on those memorials about the honor in one's dedication to God and country, I thought of all those young patriots who suffered and died so far from home, and revering our vets there with the next generation by my side. There was such clarity. There's clarity in our calling, patriotic constitutionalists. We have a duty not just to the living, but to those who came and died before us, and to the generations yet to be born. Our freedom was purchased by millions of men now long forgotten throughout history who charged the bayonets and they charged the cannons. They knew they were going to die, but it was worth it for them, sacrificing for future generations' freedom. They're the ones who prayed in the trenches and suffered in the POW camps. They gave their lives so that we could be here today. You and I are blessed to be born the heirs of freedom. As President John F. Kennedy said, we dare not forget today that we are the heirs of that first revolution. We are the heirs of those who froze with Washington at Valley Forge and who held the line at Gettysburg, who freed the slaves to close a shameful chapter, and who carved a nation out of the wilderness. We're the sons and daughters of those who stormed the beaches of Normandy and raised the flag at Iwo Jima and made America the strongest, the most prosperous, the greatest nation on earth forever in mankind's history, the greatest, most exceptional nation. Endure. We will always come through. We will never give up. We shall endure because we live by that moral strength that we call grace. Because though we've often skirted a precipice, a providential hand has always guided us to a better future. So let us seek that hand once more. Or Ronald Reagan said, if we ever forget that we are one nation under God, we will be a nation gone under. Yes, he shed his grace on thee, America. We will not squander what we have been given. We will fight for freedom. We will fight for America. We are at the tipping point. United, we must stand, and we shall nobly save, not meanly lose this last best hope on earth. So God bless you, Iowa. God bless the United States of America.
Thank you.